Welcome, everybody, to episode 6 of the Slow Smoke Pigskin podcast. It's me, Aaron. That's Drew.
Hello, league
And hopefully,
managers.
you can see both of us now because we're trying a different platform, so you don't have to get that weird spotty video going back and forth and whatnot.
We're upgrading. We're trying to make things better for you, your enjoyment.
Speaking of like something Drew said one of the last episodes, Drew said he really wanted to like play quarterback in the NFL to get the paycheck, and he thought he could do it. We're a week late now that the Bucks got eliminated, but I need to call out the elephant in the room and just say Drew could sneak in as Baker Mayfield and nobody would notice. I mean, look at that face. I think it's close enough.
Pretty close.
I think he could do it. I have no idea how tall Baker is, but close enough.
I don't know. I think I can do it.
All right. So, a couple things for the league. Anybody who didn't know, I'm pretty sure everybody saw the drama, but Daniel Vernon just randomly dropped out of the league. Um, uh, Kind of a messed up situation, but is what it is. He's gone. We added Adrian Biggs, who is a guy I've played redraft with since I believe 2009. Steve vouched for him because he's played with him. Drew's played with him. A whole bunch of us have played with him for a long time. When we actually started this league, I had asked him if he wanted to join, but he's like, nah, I've got another dynasty league. He didn't want to have another, but he, at that time, now he agreed. So good to go.
He's a good
Um,
dude. He's a good dude.
he's a good dude. So, on that note, unfortunately, we have an extra little messed up situation with that, which is that Daniel Vernon won the first season of this league. When he won the first season, we bought a trophy and sent it to him. He was supposed to have gotten an extra plaque and send it to the winner of the second season. He never did that. He had some personal stuff on his life, go on in his life, claimed that that was the reasoning, and then never sent it to that one. All of a sudden, I started to ask him about it, and that's kind of when he just suddenly dropped out of the league. So we are without trophy right now. So um, I don't know. It's not a lot of options. Either I pay for one out of pocket, or I get everybody to chip in for the league. Um, Hoping everybody's willing. I'm sorry for anybody who chipped in already once and is going to chip in again. It freaking sucks, but somebody screwed us over that I didn't expect to happen. So I'm sorry.
What can we expect to if the league chips in? What are we expecting as far as what, $10, an extra $10?
I think when I priced it out, it was $216 shipped to my house. So we got 12 people. The math is $18 a person exactly. If you're willing to chip in 15, I'll eat the rest, whatever. I'll send a message out to everybody, chip in what you're willing. And like I said, if you don't want to, I get it. And it's a real bummer.
It is,
So,
but it is what it is.
yeah. All right. So that's league news for now. Let's talk some NFL news.
Some major NFL news. Big question is how did the Bucks handle the weather in Detroit?
It was going to be really like 12 degrees in Detroit,
Yeah,
and they're
I
they're a
don't.
warm weather team. How are they going to handle that?
I was so surprised that none of them were wearing anything like cold weather related, because
Oh.
reportedly it was gonna be really bad. But oh, Detroit plays in a dome, so that reporter is fired.
I give Todd Bowles respect for like being a gentleman about it and not like fully blasting that reporter for it. But it was just hilarious.
It's yeah. For those of you that don't know, some reporter asked
Todd Bowles.
Bowles for how he was going to handle the cold weather in Detroit, and he kind of looked around and said, "I think we'll be okay," is what I think the actual answer was.
I think he said we'll be okay for the 20 seconds from the bus to the building.
But yes, so
Coach, looking forward towards Detroit. The weather has been a factor in some of the playoff games, even for the most prepared teams. Today, it's 13 in Detroit, which doesn't compare to some of the temperatures we tend to talk to. Any special plans to acclimate the team to not only endure but perform in those kind of frigid temperatures should you face them in Detroit?
You do know we play indoors, right? And they got a dome. I don't. No, nothing planned. We're indoors, and we only have to be outside for 20 seconds, getting off the bus, going under the thing. So we'll be okay.
Pretty funny. Know your stuff, basically, is the moral of the story. But Lions signed Zach Ertz.
To the practice squad. He got released by the Cardinals because he wanted to go to a contender or something, and
He made it to a contender, but I don't know if he's going to be. I mean,
yeah, I just thought it was funny that he was even getting signed to somebody right now.
It's a just in case type of thing, I'm assuming. I don't know.
Laporta, he was hurt, but he managed to play
was.
last game, so I guess a contingency plan.
Maybe he's strained. I don't know. Who knows? For those of you who got to watch the Buffalo KC game, we got to see Jason Kelce in retirement. Amazing. I would love at some point in time when this podcast goes viral, if we can get on new heights and we can hang out with Jason Kelce, would probably be top 10 bucket list for me. So he went crazy, took his shirt off in, I don't know what, 5-degree weather, jumped into the stands, playing with, it was amazing. Like, that's great to see.
Apparently he talked to his wife about it before he did it, and she was like, don't do that, Jason. You're meeting Taylor for the first time. And he said, I'm not asking, I'm telling.
Yeah.
And then
Who cares?
Apparently his daughter, I think, was with his mother-in-law, and they texted, Daddy's boobies are out. So yeah, those good times.
We've got Ravens matchups this week. Ravens at Chiefs, Niners at Lions. That's going to be some good games. The Ravens Chiefs is going to be it's going to be a fun one to watch. I think the Niners at Lions, I think that's going to be a closer game than people think. I'm sure everybody's just thinking Niners are just going to kind of run away with it, but hopefully Brock Purdy figures out what was wrong with it. The ball was wet, apparently. He kept drying his hands off. I don't know.
He did not like the wet ball, but
no,
he was a different quarterback in the fourth quarter than he was the first three. So
100%. I agree with that. But the Lions, I mean, I love a Cinderella story, so I can't really count them out at this point.
Yeah, I want to see the Ravens because I'm tired of seeing the Chiefs, and I think the 49ers are a better overall team than the Lions. So I'm guessing Ravens 49ers. That meets your conspiracy theory with the colors and all that crap. Fine, whatever.
You want to hear another conspiracy theory?
Sure, throw it out there.
Okay. So if you put blue and red together, that makes purple, correct?
Yes.
So it could be a Lions Chiefs Super Bowl because we've got Taylor Swift and Eminem who are going to battle it out as the superstar music people. And the purple in the NFL logo is the two teams combined.
Who comes up with? I don't even want to talk about this anymore. Let's move on.
I'm just saying. Winner. I think the other color is blue.
It's like pink and purple right now, or red and purple. Yeah. Whatever.
They've got the Lions winning the Super Bowl. That's all I gotta say.
Okay. Anyways,
you heard it here first, people.
Yeah. The Ravens are getting an important weapon back for the game.
Yes, they are. But do they really need it?
I mean, Isaiah Likely
has done a very fine job.
He has, but he doesn't have the same connection with Lamar that Andrews does. But or you can then go run 12 personnel and have both of them on the field.
Yes. But he also hasn't played in multiple weeks. So yes, there's a likely he'll be back for the AFC Championship. That is, we're talking about Mark Andrews, but I think you run with what you've got that has gotten you there for now. We'll see what happens.
All right. So, main topic of today's episode, we're going to give you a preview in preparation for the league meeting, which I sent out an invite for to everybody. That's happening I wish I remembered the date at this moment.
February 18th.
18th. February 18th. And it's a different time depending on what time zone
It's
you
a
are.
Sunday. It's a holiday weekend. Everybody should be available.
Oh, crap. I forgot that's that holiday weekend that we were talking about going somewhere. Guess not. Oh, well. Anyways, uh, fair enough. Anyway, so we're gonna talk about some of the rules changes, give you some background on why, what we think is, a little bit of a opinion from folks on this podcast, and you can make your own decisions, but just some food for thought for things to change for the week. So, first one is to allow doubtful players to be added to IR spots. Right now, you're only allowed to add somebody to an IR spot if they're out, NA, PUP, etc. So they have to be completely or IR. But the sleeper platform does give us the option to allow doubtful players to be added to spots, which a lot of times players will be doubtful early in the week, especially when waivers are running, and then they get put, they get declared out later in the week, and then you can move them, but you've already missed out on waivers.
The idea behind it is that the team, the actual NFL team, is going to wait until the very last minute to put that player as listed out. Ideally, it's a way to get it's a chess match with the team that they're facing, right? So they're gonna wait in hopes that they'll do that. But for us as fantasy owners, we can put that player directly onto IR and move on. Now you can take him off if 10 minutes, 30 minutes before the game, he's declared eligible, correct?
Yep.
So to me, like that sounds like a good thing. Obviously, it can give advantages to extra players, last minute trades, last minute waiver pickups. But I think in the grand scheme of things, like to be able to put players on there that and Aaron has made this point before, but doubtful players usually don't play. I would 50-60% of doubtful players end up not playing anyways. So
I think it's higher than that. I think
okay.
But and just to throw out like a couple of examples I can think over the last couple of seasons, like when Justin Jefferson got hurt this last year, it was said that he was going to be going on IR and he was going to be out for a minimum of 4 weeks. Well, they put him as a doubtful until like Thursday or Friday, and then officially put him on IR. A similar thing happened 1 or 2 years ago with David Montgomery. I remember happening because I wrote into a podcast I listened to complaining about Matt Nagy at the time, going, "Why is he doing this to my fantasy team?" So that's the thought process behind it. I've gotten some pushback from some other folks, so make your own decision. But that's the first proposed rule change. All right, next one. Since we are planning to go to Superflex in 2026 and we're going to expand rosters in 2025, do we want to get rid of any of the other positions that we have in our starting lineup? The ones that I would propose as potential ones to get rid of would be either kicker, defenses, or IDP. Kickers and defenses are a big topic in both redraft and dynasty these days, and IDP is something that I threw in our redraft league a couple years ago and then started as part of this dynasty league. So I don't know what everybody feels about them. Obviously, I started with them. I don't know how people feel about the positions. It's purely a question.
Yeah, I think originally signing up for fantasy football, you kind of want to be able to have a complete roster and you have to involve everybody but as it comes down to it, I think IDP would be the one that you would want to get rid of. I think kickers, if you're going to get rid of one, you get rid of IDP. You don't get rid of kicker, or you get rid of both. I don't know. There's so much going back and forth with IDPs. It takes up a roster spot. Do you want to keep the one IDP that you have that you like, and then now you have to carry 2 IDPs? It's less traditional. A lot of leagues do carry all three of those. I like the defense aspect of it. Defense can go off one week and it can make or break you. It does free up roster spots though if we don't have one of those or multiples of those. So again, we just got to talk about it and find out what everybody else does. You never
Just
know.
just to throw it out there, I mean, I guess kickers, you do have some kickers who are going to be good year over year, the Justin Tuckers and such. Um, but a lot of people don't like them in fantasy in general because they have huge impacts on the real NFL game, but
Yeah.
it's hard to determine when a kicker is going to have a good day or not. So some people like that, some people don't. And then defenses in a dynasty format, like you're now looking at a turnover of 20 something players every year. It's hard to know what defense is going to be good. You can argue that maybe defensive coordinator sticking around, moving, changing affects it more, clears it up more. So I'm good with them staying. I'm good with them going. Something to think about
Yeah.
with the fact that we're going to have an extra starting roster spot. All right. The next one is one that I can't remember where I came upon it early. It was actually not long after we had our league meeting last year. So it was something to throw out there. And it is the idea of a counter offer period. That is, once a trade is agreed upon between people making a trade, it gets announced to the league, and instead of me as the commissioner going ahead and approving the trade and processing it, we could give a time period for other players to make a counter offer to both sides to see if they want to change the trade.
Yeah, I think that this is something that's been brought up just for the fact of there
People
might be
thinking,
multiple people trying to do a trade with a specific manager, and it it makes it a little bit more fair. It makes it a little bit more inclusive in the fact that you can rebuttal another trade, and the manager that is being offered the trades can get the best trade out there. Um, what that does though is it makes the person that originally offered the trade, the work that they did, the research that they did, it kind of lets other people not have to do any research, and they can be like, oh, this is what the guy wants. I can offer him one little bit more, and then the other guy can the other manager can go that direction. So it's there's pros and cons to it. It slows down the trade process. If you need somebody right away and you have to wait 24 hours to see if there's a rebuttal or whatever the time period is, it doesn't have to be 24 hours. You're not going to get that player for your starting lineup at 1 o'clock on a Sunday or whatever it is. So
I can tell you right now, if I work a trade with somebody and then somebody comes in and puts in a counter offer and takes it after me and another manager agreed, I will be pissed. But that's my
yeah,
opinion, and
it's
I'm
happened. It's happened to me. So like maybe at one point in time I was all in favor of a counter offer, but as I think about it and ponder it, like I'd rather you do the work. If you want to trade somebody, trade somebody. Don't wait for somebody else to come up with the trade and then you undercut them or overcut them, however you want to say it.
yeah, I mean, I know another reason this coming is like people will make a trade and somebody's like, "Oh, I would have given you this for it," and it's like, well, then you should have offered that, and
Right.
hey, go fishing sometimes. So
Dynasty, again, we've talked about this a lot. Dynasty is the where you build your lineup is through trades. Yes, you're gonna get lucky here and there with some waiver wires, especially, first few weeks of the season, people getting injured and stuff like that. But realistically, where you're gonna build your lineup and your league for the dynasty aspect of it is through trades. So
all
we'll see
right.
what everybody wants to do.
Next proposed rule. When I first heard of this one, I thought it was a fun idea, and then somebody pointed out some complexities to me, Steve. And But the idea was you get one mulligan for any of you golfers out there or any of you non-golfers. A mulligan's when you get another chance. And so the idea behind a mulligan is that every team would get one mulligan per year. And in that mulligan, you get to replace one player in your starting lineup with a player that was on your bench. So let's say you started Justin Jefferson and he got hurt while Rashad Bateman was on your bench and had a random 30-point week. And so if those two players had swapped, that could have won you the week, and you want to do that, but you only get to do it one time per year. It was a fun idea. It still is a fun idea. It'll add some complexity because that'll also affect the potential for the weekly winner. But yeah, that's the concept. Sorry. The concept is you get to replace one player in your starting lineup from your bench one time per year. I should clear. We would have to work out details. I would say you can't do it in the playoffs. It'd have to only be during the regular season. But that's
If we agree upon this, it would have to be specific stipulations. You can't do it in the championship game. Like, what I like about it is that, yes, if someone gets hurt, you get to use the mulligan. That's great because players get hurt constantly, right? What I don't like about it is it's like if there's a doubtful player or there's somebody that gets a healthy scratch, which doesn't happen to your star players anyways, but it takes away from the manager having to set a good lineup. Like, it's your responsibility to set a good lineup. It's your responsibility to do the research. But where it does come into play is when that Justin Jefferson gets hurt and your bench wide receiver puts up more points than and it's like you missed it because you missed it by 5 points, and all of a sudden that player on your bench you got the points out of him, and that puts you into the playoffs. Like, I would be pissed as a manager if that happened to me against me. So, I see it, but I think there's cons to it as well. So
it's a whole lot of complexity because it can have such
maybe the first 7 games of the season and you want to get that extra win, but to make or break your playoff, if you're the 6th seed and you are winning and the guy you're playing against wants to switch out one player because he saved his mulligan, like, that'd be so frustrating. But that's why we vote as a league.
Yep. All right. Next, Rule 5 draft. That's a baseball term, but the idea is that we have basically the idea is you got to get everybody in your starting lineup within 2 years. If you don't start everybody who's been on your team, if you have somebody who's been sitting on your bench that you've never started for 2 years, then that player gets added back to waivers for anybody to be able to pick them up. And
I'll just tell you the first con to this is, like, good luck doing the math on that.
oh yeah, I mean,
Good luck keeping track of that, commish.
Yeah, this would be so much work for me. I understand the idea behind it, not letting people park people on their bench and never play them.
If you want them, trade for them.
Exactly. But somebody proposed it. I would throw it out here.
Yep.
Cool. Next one, bonuses. People have probably played. A lot of people have played in fantasy leagues with bonuses for 100 rushing yards, 300 passing yards, 100 receiving yards, etc. We don't have any in the league right now. The platform allows us to add them. Somebody asked for it to be proposed. It's proposed.
Yeah, I mean, points are points. I mean, yes, I think you should be rewarded for having a really good game. But again, if you have the player that is consistently catching, Tyreek Hill, who was doing 100 yards a game, like, he's going to be, as far as our league goes, he's going to be a much higher value in the league. So it doesn't even things out that way. But at the same time, like, if you want Tyreek Hill and he's scoring, that's the point total that goes in the league. and you want him, then you trade for him. You give up a lot for him, but it's a new way of thinking in the league because we've been thinking one way for so long. But I don't know as if necessarily you do the rule change this year and it goes into effect next year. You would have to give it a couple of years so people can do their research and do stuff like that. But points are points. Like, it doesn't matter.
I've always felt like this just takes heroes and turns them into superheroes. So, like, most of the time, if you get one of these big days, you're probably winning anyways. There's no reason to make it even further apart.
I mean, how cool would it be, though, to get a 300-point week?
There
I mean, we've hit 200 without it. Why not?
you go. All
Put us
right.
on the map.
Next rule is require all teams to complete at least one trade per year. If you don't, you get charged a penalty, which gets added to the prize pot. Now, this is just because, as Drew mentioned a few minutes ago, like, Dynasty is about making trades. We want people wheeling and dealing, making moves. That being said, I'm pretty sure every team in the league made a trade last year, except for Matt, who we've moved on from anyways because of him being an inactive manager. So making it a rule that you have to trade could be a moot point because everybody's doing it anyways, but do we want to just do something to guarantee it happens?
Anything you read or hear about Dynasty, podcast, article, whatever you want to do, all it talks about is trades. Like, you should be like right now, a couple of the podcasts that I've listened to, like right now should be the biggest trade season. During the league, it doesn't need to be as much, but right now there's a little bit more wheeling and dealing draft pick wise.
Yeah.
Okay,
so if you say the off season as a whole, I agree. That's when most of the trading should be happening is in the off season. When you say right now, I didn't know if you meant this period.
But I meant the period before the draft.
Gotcha.
This is the period that I'm not like today or this month during the playoffs. Because right now, like, you still have running backs that are becoming the number one running back. Like, but it's like only because they're the only ones playing. But as a whole, before the draft it's a huge trade season. You're not picking up players off of the waiver wire because someone got hurt. Like, that's just not happening. But my point being was everybody's already done a trade. The reason for it was because when managers send out trade requests, a lot of times you don't get any response.
Right.
So I think the idea behind you have to do a trade was to get more communication going on between the managers. Is really, I think, probably the main reason for it. Do you have to trade? No, but at least respond and say, no, I'm not willing to deal that player, or rebuttal. A lot of the times your beginning trade offer is just a starting point. It's not oh, this is what you want, I'm not dealing with you ever again. Like, you're ridiculous, you don't know anything about fantasy football. Like, no. Most of the time you're going to try to start out on the lower side, you're going to come back on the higher side, and you meet in the middle. Negotiation 101. Anyways.
All right. One more rule for today, which is currently we have 5 taxi squad spots. A couple years ago, we reduced the number of rounds of the rookie draft from 5 to 4. And so there was just the question, do we want to reduce the number of taxi squad spots to match the number of draft picks that we get? Players are allowed to stay on the taxi squad for 2 years. So that would mean you have to remove at least somebody every year if you only have 4, unless you trade away draft picks, but whatever. So it was just another thing to be thrown out there. Honestly, I like having 5. It allows you to get some late round rookie picks and see if they turn into something. But
with the league going to a super flex, I think that the 5 taxi squad is a good thing to have because you need to hold an extra player right now. You need to hold a quarterback that potentially could go that direction. Maybe you don't, I think even if you're only drafting 4, you can hold them on for 2 years. Like, why not have why reduce your taxi squad? Like, if you want that player, trade for him.
Yeah.
Kind of becoming a theme of me, but you know what I mean? Like,
To
that's
clarify for anybody who wasn't sure, you can trade away players who are on your taxi
you
squad
can
spot.
trade anything in
get it.
Dynasty.
The only
Especially on-
thing is, if you trade for a player who was on somebody else's taxi squad, they cannot then go to your taxi squad.
This is true. This
Um,
is true.
But you are
Well,
allowed to trade.
unless it's a first year player, and then you can put him back on the taxi squad for the second year. Correct?
No, I think you if they've ever been on a team on somebody's active roster, they
Really?
can't go back to taxi squad.
All right.
So
Well, maybe that's something to think about, which is even all the more reason why you should have an extra taxi squad spot. But yes, but it also, I mean, theoretically, your taxi squad is going to be rookies. You only draft rookies once a year. So should you only have your 4 taxi spots? I mean, I can understand the argument for that as well.
all right, so that's the first half of the proposed.
That's the business half of the proposals for the rule changes.
Yeah, these are the more serious ones related to, scoring and stuff. We'll talk about some more fun ones next week when we talk about the other half of the proposed rule changes. But along with the good news for some of you folks, along with our switching platforms to record so you can see both of us, it also limits us to a shorter amount of time.
You're welcome.
Recording limit. So they will not now be exceeding 40 minutes. So congrats. You don't have to.
And you can catch them on YouTube.
Oh yeah, Drew set up a YouTube page. We're now YouTubers. Our kids now think we're cool.
It's in the message at Dynasty. So we are officially YouTubers, content creators.
Oh, do not call me a content creator. Oh, I'm canceling the podcast now.
You'll make a lot of people happy.
Yeah. Ouch. All 3 of the subscribers?
Yep. Well, we got 4.
Oh, there you go.
I
All
think
right,
4.
man. So we'll continue the rest of the rule discussion next week.
See you next week.
All right, later, y'all.
Later.
Bye.